You've seen all angles of football. Obviously, your dad, Sir Kenny Dalglish, what an absolute legend. And I'm sure you're asked all the time about him and what it was like growing up. And I imagine you'd probably say very similar to other children. He's your dad. And, we're often not impressed by our parents, are we? They're just your parents. But what was life like in your house as a young kid? I
think that's exactly the point, is that as soon as he came through the front door, he was just dad. And, I'm one of 4 and it's 3 girls and my brother. And then my brother in his teens went off to play football. And so he was at home with a load of women and girls. Yeah. And so he didn't really get much of a say at home. And so that's one thing. And the other thing as well is even outside of the home, football wasn't what it is now. He was still well known and people would stop him, and there were certain places that you probably wouldn't go with him. But generally speaking, most people weren't that bothered. So
really?
It was, once the sort of novelty had worn off. And also I went to school with the same girls all the way through school, and my friends were my friends from being really young. So I think that helped as well. It helped to just kind of make him very normal, and he was still the person who would sort of tell me off if my homework wasn't done, or kind of, I remember once stopping me going out the door in a mini skirt and saying calling my mum down the stairs going, she can't go out in that. And my mum's like, oh, leave her, she's just young, she's going out, she's having fun. And so he was still just that person as well.
I suppose everyone has this perception. When I mentioned to my husband, he's a massive Liverpool fan, he was like, oh my gosh, ask her what it was like. Yeah. Her dad, that's amazing. What was life like? And then I just started thinking about our kids and, other sports people's kids. They look at us as if we are the most annoying, boring parents in the world. Yeah. They don't necessarily have that appreciation for how great their parents are. Were you aware? Did you appreciate how successful and how big he was as a teenager?
No, not until probably I started working in sport.
Yeah.
I think then you get a context for it, and you start sort of introducing people and listing off their credentials, and then thinking, oh my God, I don't think I could even have listed the trophies that he'd won or anything, probably until I started working in sport. And then I knew that he did well, and I knew that he won stuff, but I wasn't really that bothered by it. And my daughters are the same. Even when they talk about him, they sort of came to the realization when they were about 7 or 8, my eldest would be about 7 or 8, and she's like, he's on YouTube. This was the biggest thing that she could possibly imagine. That was there was a highlights reel or something. And they're not bothered about anything I do, which is a much lower scale from my dad, but they're still not bothered, even around all the kind of match of the day conversations. And they'd be in the car and I'd be talking to people, and I said, you can't say this to anybody. And they're like, yeah, whatever. So eventually I said, look, it's going to be announced tomorrow, which means that if anybody asks you about it, you can say. And my eldest daughter sort of looked at me for a full 20 seconds, and then she went, but who's going to ask about you? Oh. And I was like, oh, right, okay. And then she came back about a week later and she went, oh, somebody's dad did actually say, oh, well done. That's a really nice thing to happen.
One dad. Just one dad.
I was like, oh, okay. So that kind of keeps you in your box and keeps you kind of,
But match of the day, though, what a huge, huge job. And just the whole history, when you think about football, you think about match of the day in this country, you think about, that theme tune. It just, even if you're not a massive football fan, match of the day. How did it feel for you knowing that you were going to be one of the presenters?
It was so strange because I didn't even think it was an option, because I just assumed Gary was going to be there forever. I didn't think it was going to open up as an opportunity. And then once he was leaving, and then you have that kind of initial conversation, potentially, would you want to be part of the team that is going to take over and I tried to be really cool.
You're like, no.
And then I came out of the meeting and was like, oh my God. And it's not the day-to-day of it, because really covering live football is the most exciting thing that you can do.
Yeah.
But match of the day is match of the day, like you said. And it's just the name of the program, the theme music, everything. And you just suddenly you're in people's homes in a way that that you're not in when you do anything else in sport. It's like working on the Olympics.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing that it's part of people's lives.
And was there any moment that you felt nervous or anxious? Was it always just an absolute, yes, this is a no-brainer? Or was there any moments of doubt or contemplation?
Both of those things. It was absolutely yes.
Yeah.
And it was very, very slight wobble, as in, am I going to be able to do this with the live football? And Sky were really, really lovely about it and really helpful. And to make that work and to be able to do both things is amazing. But there was that, and it was never a case of, you get to a stage in your career where you're like, I know I can do this job, but also I need to do it, and I need to do it well from the beginning. Yeah. And it was that first one of thinking, I can't mess this up. And I think it was, I work a lot with Gary Neville, who said that Alex Ferguson always used to say at the start of any season, just first game, 7 out of 10. Just don't try anything spectacular. Okay. Don't do anything ridiculous. Just a nice steady 7.
Yeah.
Just get it done, get it out the way, and don't mess it up. And it was just, that's the advice I kind of kept in my head.
That's great advice though, isn't it?
Yeah, especially for a first one.
Yeah, because I think there is that feeling of, I need to do amazing. I really need to set the bar so high. But actually that can be where you make some mistakes, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was the thing. It's don't take risks. Yeah. Just kind of go out and do it really steady. And it helped that Chappers and Gabby had already done one. So they'd done the first weekend. Yeah. And so I was like, right, attention's off a bit for the second weekend. I can just go in and all eyes aren't on me anymore. It's kind of, they've done that. They've kind of taken the brunt of it. And now I can just go in and just go in their slipstream. And
are you someone that would think about the things that could potentially go wrong? Or are you just solely focused on, I'm coming here, I'm going to deliver, do my job. I'm not going to think about all the things that could go wrong, all the people watching. Yeah, is that the way you would approach it as well?
Yeah, but because when we're in the studio, because it's green screen and it's all
lovely green screen.
Yeah, and because it kind of looks really basic.
Yeah,
and when I'm in there, and it is just the crew, so I'm quite good at sort of not thinking about who's watching. I'm quite good at just talking to the camera crew. Yeah. Because that's something that I got taught really, really early on, was just talk to whoever's behind the camera. That's all you're doing. And then, so that's always been my kind of way of doing things. So that was fine. I didn't think about that. And I think probably at the back of my mind, I was thinking about all the things that could go wrong, but I wasn't letting that kind of come through.
Yeah.
But then the day after, so I did the first match of the day, and then I did a couple of live games at Fulham the next day. And then the Monday after that, I couldn't move off the sofa. I was just like, and I think it was the effort of trying not to let all that kind of worry just come to the surface. So I think I was squashing it, but it was exhausting. The Monday, I just felt like somebody had let all the air out my balloon. I was just sitting on the sofa going, I can't do anything. And I was like that to the girls. I was like, do you just want takeaway? Yeah. They're like, yeah, great. Is this going to be every week? Because this is great.
It's the adrenaline of it all though as well, isn't it? Even though you're in a green screen room, it's still the adrenaline of live TV is like nothing else, isn't it?
But I'm used to that. Yeah. So that I prefer that to recorded stuff because I feel like I work better under those circumstances. And I feel like I'm more natural if I can go back and correct mistakes or if we can kind of go with something that happens unexpectedly. So if I'm at Ipswich and Ed Sheeran gate crashes our post-match kind of analysis, and when Ruben Amorim's doing his first interview as Manchester United, my first post-match interview as Manchester United manager, and suddenly Ed Sheeran barrels in from hospitality and you're like,
so good.
I love that. Like that's the best bit.
Yeah.
So all of that, I much prefer being live.
I'd love to go on to your first item that you've brought in. So would you just explain what you've brought in?
So the first sort of major tournament I worked on was the Paralympics in 2012. And obviously, I'm not telling you about 2012.
I love hearing everybody's like stories and journey because
different.
Mine was I was like in a tunnel and I wasn't aware of everything going around. So it's so interesting for me to hear
but
your
also
journey.
In the build up, I've never, obviously I'm not from London, but I've lived in London since like 1998. And so I've never felt more of a Londoner than in the build up to 2012 when I was like, the traffic's going to be horrendous and you won't be able to get on the tube and it's going to be full of tourists. So I went away for the Olympics. Yeah. And I was
Where did you
away.
go?
I went to Spain,
holiday?
just on holiday to Spain. And I was like, I've made a great decision. This is amazing. This is going to be so good. And my girls were very small. And I sat down and I watched the opening ceremony kind of outside on an outside screen in Spain. It was a gorgeous night with a glass of red wine. And I was like, I've made a massive mistake.
Oh, no.
This is awful. I should be home for this. This is terrible. I can't believe I could have been in London. But I knew I was going back to work on the Paralympics.
Yeah.
And it was just watching all those incredible moments and watching how the crowd got behind everything, watching the volunteers, watching the kind of way that the city embraced it, the way that the spectators embraced it. I could not wait to get back for the Paralympics and then to be part of something that Channel 4 created, which was this whole new way of covering Paralympic sport, just felt really, really special.
Yeah.
And I did a breakfast show with Rick Edwards and we just had so much fun. And like after Johnny Peacock had won his gold, and he came in and we sort of timed him running down the corridor and we kind of got everybody just talking about life as a disabled person and their kind of excellence as a Paralympian, and it was just fantastic. It was just, we got to cover so many different sort of areas and it just felt amazing.
Was it nice in a way that obviously you would have loved to have been in London and experienced like the atmosphere, but actually you've been away knowing that you were coming back to something that was going to be so spectacular? Yeah,
it was that sense of anticipation and knowing what we were going into was just, it was so special. It was just, we knew we were going into something that people were completely behind. And Channel 4 had launched the Harder Than You Think sort of advertising campaign.
Oh gosh, it was so good.
And just watching the reaction to that. Even now, I just got goosebumps thinking about
music, it. They did something so special that we'd not really seen before. Yeah. And, we always talk about, Olympians as being superhuman, but Paralympic athletes, what they put their bodies through, the journey that they've been on already, I just feel that Channel 4 really captured that and really told their stories, which
and
was
they did
just
it visually
so
as well. So they would do things like they would have swimmers preparing themselves, so taking off their prosthetics before they got into the pool. They weren't kind of shying away from it or sort of turning an embarrassed eye away from it. It was kind of, here's everybody and here's all that they are. Yeah. And it was such a really amazing thing to be part of. So you had that kind of Olympics build up and then you had kind of being part of something that felt really important. And even programs like The Last Leg,
which still going,
went on to be like a completely different entity, but started in the Paralympics. So it was just, and also that there is just that tournament feel as well that you'll know from working now in broadcasting as well, because I think it's broader when you work in broadcasting. Like when you're an athlete in it, it feels very, very small, that world. But when you work as a broadcaster, it feels like the whole world's kind of come into your space.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. And I think, to be part of those stories for me is something that as a sports person, you're so in your own zone and you're so kind of tunnel vision that you don't step back and actually see the magnitude of what's happening. For you, were there any key moments that really stood out for you that really resonated, or stories that you covered during that time?
I went there was one night, because we were on the breakfast show, that we only went for one night, and Johnny Peacock was racing that night, and we and he shushed the crowd.
Oh, really?
And it was just that moment of seeing someone. Obviously, we had the interviews, we'd seen all the build up, and I think I'm right in saying that he was found in the talent spotting events that they had in the build up to it, and so watching him go from this kid that they spotted a talent in to commanding this huge stadium and shushing the whole crowd. And that was almost more of a goosebumps moment, even than him winning the medal.
Yeah.
It was just that sense of this kid who'd been so much part of the fabric of everything that was building up to it. Just having this command and this confidence was incredible.
What did you learn from your time broadcasting as on the Paralympics? Did it teach you things that you've taken into your presenting roles within football?
Yeah, I think that from the Paralympics and from working on events which weren't something that I'd grown up watching necessarily. So I worked on the America's Cup sailing as well one year. And when you go into unfamiliar environments, there's something brilliant about just immersing yourself in it and learning about it. And when I went to work, and it was the same thing that I'd learned at the America's Cup that I took into the Paralympics, which is nobody wants you to be an expert because the viewer isn't an expert. They want you to be a step ahead of them. Yeah. They want you to be informed enough to ask the questions that they want you to ask, but also to move it on a step as well. And so that was the sort of learning that I took from the America's Cup into the Paralympics, and then from the Paralympics onwards as well.
I suppose with the Olympics and the Paralympics, it's every 4 years, isn't it? Yeah. And a lot of those athletes, almost you don't really see them throughout the rest of the year. So it's that moment, their one moment where, you as a presenter, as a pundit, as the team, you have to deliver, their story and their journey in, like you say, like 2 or 3 minutes.
And you're trying to speak to people who are watching on all different levels as well. So you're trying to talk to people who are experts and who do know the backstory, and you're trying to give them something new as well as informing somebody who might only come to it every 4 years and try and speak to them on their level as well. And that's tough.
So what was life like after the Paralympics? What did your career and your journey look like after that?
I didn't go back to Sky until 2016, till then. So what was I doing between 2012 and 2016?
What were you doing?
I definitely was working, and the girls were kind of but I think I was freelancing, I think, as well, because when the girls were very small, I did do lots of kind of like less intense jobs. Yeah. So I would take lots of jobs that would maybe be like 1 day a week or a couple of days a week. And I think I went back, I think I was working at Premier League Productions, which was near my house, and it was like a day and a half a week. And so I wasn't away from the girls for a very long time at that point. Yeah, and then ended up, and I was doing 5 Live at that time as well. And then the next big tournament that I went to after that I didn't go to Brazil for the World Cup, but I did go to Paris for the Euros. So the Euros were in France in 2016. And then I went back to Sky, having been away for 8-9 years. I went back to Sky sort of a few years after that,
What was it like juggling time as a mother, though? Because I think, it's hard in any industry, isn't it? But particularly hard when you're on TV and, you've almost got this window, haven't you, or you feel you've got this window where you have to be present and you have to take every opportunity. But then at the same time, you've got your girls that are young and you don't want to miss those moments as well. Yeah,
and also you have to work to pay the bills. You can't just kind of take time off when you're freelance. But what I did was sort of adapted what I was working on a little bit. But I did when my eldest was about 20 months old. I went out to the World Cup in South Africa, and I was away for 4 weeks, and that was really, really hard. That was, actually, it was really hard leaving, but as soon as I sat on the plane and they came around with drinks, because it was commercial telly, and so you get nice seats, and they came around with drinks, and I was like, nobody can talk to me for 12 hours. Nobody can ask me for anything. Nobody can get... And it was one of the nicest 12 hours.
It's a little holiday in itself, isn't it?
Genuinely, it was a little holiday. Yeah. And then I was in the zone and I was working, and things like Zoom didn't exist, but things like Skype didn't work very well, and I was doing sort of roving reporting. So I was all over the place. So the Wi-Fi connection wasn't great, and it was all right. And then I hit about 2 weeks in, and we got to Cape Town, and we were in this big people carrier, and I was driving into this big shopping centre in Cape Town, and I had sunglasses on, and my face was soaking, and I was in floods of tears, but I didn't feel like I was crying. I was and I just got really, really, really homesick. And the producer I was working with was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, No.
You know those mornings when you wake up and you feel like you've barely slept. Maybe your partner's been tossing and turning. Maybe you were too warm, or maybe your mattress has just seen better days. Sleep is where your body rebuilds, your mind resets, and those golden moments are made possible. That's why I've partnered with Simba. Their hybrid mattress is designed with cutting-edge technology to keep you cool, supported, and undisturbed through the night, so you can sleep deeper and recover better. With over 350,000 five-star reviews and more than 100 sleep awards, you can trust that Simba really are the experts in great sleep. So if you've been waking up achy, tired, or just not feeling at your best, maybe it's time to upgrade your mattress. With a 200-night risk-free trial and free next-day delivery, better sleep could literally be at your doorstep tomorrow. Shop at simbasleep.com/goldmines. On this podcast, I'm always inspired by people pushing themselves to the new heights, and that same spirit comes through in David M. Robinson's latest collection. Each design captures a different side of life, and at the heart of them all is the same promise: stylish jewellery, crafted to the very highest standards, with a level of detail that makes every piece feel truly special. From day-to-day pieces to iconic collections to bespoke items, DMR has something for everyone. Alongside jewellery, DMR are also retailers of leading luxury watch brands, so it's a perfect place to mark life's milestones. Discover the piece that could mark your own golden moment. Just head to the link in the description. Dream it, make it, love it.
And I was like, I need you to give me 2 hours. I said, and I spent the first hour sitting in a toilet in a shopping centre, just in floods of tears, being really homesick. And then I took an hour and I just walked around on my own and was like, look, you've done 2 weeks. You're coming back in 2 weeks. It's fine. You'll be okay. And then that felt manageable from then on. And I came in and I walked in the door and I was like, hi, I'm back. And she sort of went, oh, hi. Yeah. As though I'd been to the shops, as though I'd literally kind of walked around the corner to Sainsbury's. She had, because at that stage, they got no concept of time.
Yeah.
It's actually harder when they're a bit older.
It is.
But it was tough. But also, I was talking to a friend of mine, Jill Douglas, who works a lot on the cycling and so she was away for tournaments and was working on rugby tournaments. And she said, you need to remember that while you're away, at times when their friends' parents aren't away, you're home at times when their friends' parents aren't home. So there are times when you're not working on something. So last summer, for example, I had pretty much 2 months off.
Yeah.
And I'm around the whole time. And my daughter was doing her GCSEs. And I was around pretty much all of that to be there. I wasn't working, from 8 in the morning till 7 at night in an office. I was I was around for that. So you get back. In where you lose, you gain as well.
But they still have a funny view of it, because I'm thinking with my kids as well, and I'm the same. So there'll be periods where I'm away and working for a few days. So with the athletics, we're away, in Salford doing 9 days straight. Yeah. But then I'm there all the time for the clubs, for the pickups, and all that kind of thing. But then my kids will still turn around and go, "You're always away."
Yeah. And
I went to see my daughter had like an open day at school the other day, and I went in and she was showing me all her work. Bearing in mind, I'm there all the time, like all the time. Yeah. And she had this little picture and it was like, what makes me happy? And it was like cinema, chocolate, all this kind of thing. What makes me sad? And I was like, what's that a picture of? There was a picture of me and her with the saddest little face where mummy's always away.
Always. It's the always. It's the always.
How brutal.
But I remember I've had these, because my girls are older, because they're like 14 and 17 now, but I've had these conversations with them over the years where I'm like, you remember the differences. You remember the times that are different. So you don't remember every concert that I came to or every Christmas event that I came to. You remember the one that I missed. Yeah. You remember the one where you go, I was standing there and I was looking out and it was nice to see Daddy, but you weren't there.
You weren't there.
But what about the 14 others where I was there?
Selective memory, that's what I say.
But it's selective memory, but it's also, it's a difference for them. And your brain works in a way you don't remember the things that happen all the time. You remember the things that only happen occasionally.
Yeah.
That's how your memory works.
Let's go on to your golden moment.
Okay.
And I know
it's really hard. It's really hard. I'm sitting here with you and then I look back on all the guests and I'm like, people have genuinely golden moments where people have genuinely golden moments where they win a gold medal or they achieve something extraordinary. And do you know, I brought my objects in a bag today because I was at a lunch the other day, Women of the Year, where I was sitting at the table and they asked me to give the Lionesses an award. And it wasn't just this current generation, it was women who'd sort of contributed to that. So women who helped to set up the Women's FA in the aftermath of the ban and that kind of thing. So going back all the way from their work in the late 60s almost, that is the peg on which all of the Lionesses' success hangs. So it was incredible. So I was giving an award to these women. And then I was on a table with a woman who's climbed Kilimanjaro and Everest and run a series of marathons in the Sahara and is also a hypnotherapist who works with elite athletes. And then I was talking to a woman who's a breast cancer specialist. But what she said, what I do now, in a really low-key, very humble way, was like, what I actually do now is I develop cancer treatment in developing countries and countries that are recovering from war and kind of put cancer treatment into there and try to kind of create hope in those places. And I was and I'm sitting there going, and they were like, and what is it you do? And I was like, I do the football on the telly.
It's a little bit more than that.
But it isn't any more than that. It's just, and there are people who do really incredible things. And it is just football on telly.
I know. Well, you say it's football on telly, but you're in people's homes. You bring so much joy.
It's intimate. I get that. I get that it's intimate. And I get that football is huge in people's lives. I get that. But, in the grand scheme of things, it's important to remind yourself that you're not really you're not changing the world.
But I think that's why you're so great at what you do, because you have this rounded perspective. But this award is very impressive.
It's a really lovely one.
It's a beautiful award.
Because loads of amazing people have won it before. Chappers has got loads, Gabby's got loads. They've both got more than one of them. But it's a really lovely one because it's from people in my industry and it was voted for by then. And I got nominated and I was like, well, I looked at all the people who are on. I think Claire Balding was on the list as well. And I'm like, there's no way I'm winning this, but I'm going to go because I'm really pleased to be on the list.
Yeah.
And so they started reading out the sort of description. So they do this kind of, the winner has the blah, blah, blah and whatever. And they started reading it out. And I thought, and it was something about handling big personalities or something. And I was like, that could be me. That, quite generic. That could be me. And then they started getting into the detail of it. And I was saying to the person next to me, I was like, I think this is me. I think this is me.
Though.
So I went up but I didn't know. You don't really pay attention to stuff. I couldn't really work out how to, like, when they wanted me to go to the stage or kind of what to do. Because you will have had so many of those moments, but I've never won anything. So I was like, I don't really know how to do this. And then when we came back, I was going past Chappers and I thought it was really funny. So I flicked the V's at Chappers. And I was like, what? I thought it was funny. And then I realised Claire and Gabby were behind me on the table behind me. And I was like, not you. I love you. I'm just taking the mickey out of Mark. This is not kind of, so and luckily he was on a table with loads of people who I know from Five Live and kind of different. So it was all very funny, I hoped. But then I suddenly was like, it was like a weird adrenaline thing because I suddenly did it in the way that I would if it was just me and him. Yeah. And then suddenly realised, shit, if people see this, they're going to think there's some kind of beef between us or that I'm massively arrogant. So then I was turning around to Gabby and Claire and making little heart emojis, not heart emojis, but little heart symbols. Again, not you, I'm so sorry.
I respect you.
Really awful. And then I look back at the interview afterwards and I'm sort of wild-eyed and just kind of all with this mad adrenaline rush. But yeah.
So you had no idea that you were going to win that year?
No.
And who were you sat next to? What was your table situation?
I was sitting next to my agents because I'm really showbiz.
You are so showbiz. So glad.
Yeah, but we just had a really lovely table, and I was just sitting there, just being, Yeah. In fact, there is a reason I sat there is because it was a joint entry from Sky Sports and the BBC.
Okay.
So I didn't want to go on either of their tables because I didn't want to play favourites. And I didn't want to upset the other person. Yeah. So luckily I had somewhere else to go.
And how does it feel coming into this stage of your career? Because I mean, when you started out, on this journey into TV, would you imagine that you'd be where you are now at this stage in your life?
Do you know what? Probably when I was 22, I probably would have thought, yeah, that's possible. Because at 22, not in an arrogant way, you just nothing's been closed off to you. You never have to concern yourself with the practicalities of life.
Yeah.
But then I think there was a point definitely later on in my career where I realised that it's timing. Everything is just timing. You just have to kind of keep working, and opportunities don't always open up. So Gary could have stayed in the job for 5-10 more years.
Yeah. And
that opportunity doesn't open up to go to Match of the Day. There's always a reason that something opens up to you in this industry particularly, and I think in a lot of industries. And if that space isn't there, there's nowhere for you to go. So you can be, there's a load of people who are just as capable, have worked just as hard, and who won't get the opportunity just because it's not there.
Yeah. Have you always had a plan though? Has it always been something that you've been like, this is, my 5-10 year plan, this is how I'm going to strategically get there?
Because you can't plan a life in sports broadcasting like that because there isn't a progression. It's not a natural kind of, you don't set out and go, well, I want to have this job in 10 years, because who's to say that job's going to be available in 10 years?
Yeah.
You can't do that. You just have to keep, there's a TV chef called Ina Garten, who's the Barefoot Contessa, who I love. My sister and I are slightly obsessed with her. She has this whole kind of life with her husband, and she makes him dinner on a Friday. They have a chicken dinner on a Friday.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, there's a whole backstory. And my
person.
sister and I are slightly obsessed to almost stalkerish point. Anyway, she has an autobiography out, and it's called Be There When the Luck Happens. And in the interviews that she's done to promote this book, she says it's not about the long plan, it's about aiming for the next thing that you can see. So it's always about kind of, okay, well, I'm here at the moment. What's the next thing I can do while I'm here? What's the next step?
Yeah.
Because that's all you can do. Everything else is kind of up in the air.
And luck does play a big part. We were speaking about this earlier today, that actually, you can be incredible at what you do, can't you?
Yeah.
But you need to be in that right environment at the right time where those doors are open.
Yeah.
And
you could be the best and have been the best athlete in the world, but you get a really heavy cold.
Yeah.
You go over on the plane to somewhere and it's just in the kind of air conditioning, you get somebody's virus and that's it.
Gone,
that's
the
years of
opportunity's
work
gone.
kind of just gone. And that's, so it can work in that way, or it can work in the way that it has done at times for me, where it's been, we're looking to fill this space. You're the person who's here at the moment and you're on the list. And then that's the phrase, be there when the luck happens.
Yeah,
You've got to be ready for kind of, you've got to have put the work in to be the person that they choose at that time.
Do you feel like you're always pressing though in your industry, that you always have to be, you have to be there, you have to be seen all the time? Like, can you take your foot off the gas at all? Or is it, have you got to a point in your life and career now where you can be more selective, or do you always have to be pushing?
Weirdly, I feel like I'm doing that more now.
Yeah.
I think I definitely had a couple of years of doing that, or a few years of doing that when the girls were younger, where I was just like, I just need to work.
Yeah.
I just need to have a job, and I need to kind of just keep my hand in. And I needed to have that balance, try and get that balance as right as is possible, because you can never have it completely right, but as right as it could be. Whereas now I feel like I've got a little bit more space. So every time somebody comes in with things, I'm like, yeah, I'd really like to do that. And so now I do what I really want to do. So it feels like I'm doing a lot, but it's stuff that I probably wouldn't have done years ago. Two reasons. One is I'm doing stuff I really like to do, so I'm doing that. And two is because I don't worry about getting it wrong so much, because I'm not building a career. I'm not kind of... I'm not going to set myself back 10 years if I get something wrong.
Yeah.
So, I'm 50. How long realistically am I going to be working for?
But winning this award, though, what was that moment like for you as a mum, though, as well, and for the girls?
The girls were really impressed.
Were they?
Yeah. So one of the few things I've done that they were genuinely
yes.
oh, that's so cool. That's so amazing. Yeah.
Is that because they're slightly older now and they appreciate?
No, it's because there was something they could tangibly kind of get their hands on.
Yeah.
And they could get to grips with. It was something that they kind of understood the process of it, whereas work is work. My work is work. That's it.
And are they into football?
A little bit. My eldest a bit more than my younger one.
Play or just
They
enjoy
never really.
watching?
They both did play a little bit when they were very little, but not to any great level. In fact, my eldest had a football lesson in school, and she'd kicked a ball around, but she'd never really properly played football. And they put her in goal in some lesson, and she let the goal. They were like, "Oh my God, why did you not just pick it up?" And she was like, "I didn't realise a goalkeeper could use her hands."
Oh no!
I was like,
Don't tell Grandad.
Oh my God, what have I raised? This is awful. Anyway, neither of them were particularly gifted in that area, but they're both quite active. Sporty, rather like sort of lifestyle sporty, rather than kind of competitively sporty.
Yeah,
which I think is probably a more useful life skill, because only a very few people go on to be competitively successful. But yeah, they will watch, and they have an idea of what's going on, and they follow stories. My eldest is really into F1.
Oh wow!
Through Drive to Survive, and she's a teenage girl. And is part of like a competition where they build their own F1 car and stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, really cool.
I just think being involved in sport, whether it's, like you say, most kids don't get to go to the elite level, but actually, the skills that you get from sport, the way that it can have an influence on other parts of your life is huge, isn't it, really?
And also I want them to get to a stage or I want them to be the kind of people who, when they go off to uni or like go off into work, that if there's a team, they go, "Oh yeah, I'll join," and they're not too bothered about whether they're going to be the best person on it or whether they're going to be, the star player. They're just like, "Yeah, I'm going to come and do that for the social skills and for the health and for the getting outdoors and just
And are they impressed by some of the other things that you've done recently as mum? So we were talking about your Vogue shoot, which was brilliant.
Yeah, a little bit by that.
A little,
they like that one. What else have they been impressed by? Oh, Gogglebox, because I did Gogglebox with Chappers.
I watched your Gogglebox, so good. Do you know what? That is the one thing I would love to do.
Have you not done it?
No, I would love it.
They would love to have you.
I would love it.
They would love to. Who would you do it with?
See, that's a good question. You need to have someone that you know well, don't you? Like you and Chappers.
Definitely.
You can tell you've got that like chemistry. But you've got to have someone that you can have good banter with.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I have to have a good thing.
It's so much fun. You should definitely do it. It is genuinely really good fun. And they give you booze.
Do they? I mean, what's not to love? You sit on your sofa, have a glass of wine and just chat about what you're watching.
And the snacks are amazing.
Oh.
And then at one stage, they gave me a glass of wine, and I went on to my second glass of wine. I can't really drink anymore. I used to be really good at drinking, and I can't drink anymore.
I was a champion drinker.
I was into my second glass of wine, and I was like, I'm going to have to stop.
With the FIFA World Cup coming up in Seattle 2026, I've been thinking about the places that give you the best of both worlds, a vibrant city and the space to recharge. That's why Seattle stands out. They call it Mother Nature's city, and you'll see why the moment you arrive. Picture this, a morning run along the waterfront, followed by incredible food and world-class art in the heart of downtown. Few cities let you do all that in one day. Seattle is inclusive, welcoming, and full of energy. It's a city that invites you to explore. Whether it's savouring fresh seafood at Pike Place Market, diving into its legendary coffee culture, or soaking up the views of Phuket Sound and the mountains beyond. Imagine the world's biggest sporting events set against this backdrop of natural beauty and urban excitement. For me, Seattle is a perfect mix of adventure and inspiration. It's at the top of my list, and it should be on yours too. Discover more at visitseattle.org and start planning your perfect summer of football.
because I'm going to either say something really inappropriate or I'm going to be like unable to speak at all. This is just a mess.
Do you feel, God, because obviously I just think it's such a brilliant programme because we all sit at home, don't we, you know, with your friends,
so
partners, and you're just chatting. And it's so interesting to hear that everyone else is saying the same things. Yeah. But are you slightly kind of like guarded as to like, you don't want to be
You start
too
off
honest.
that way and then you're just sitting chatting to your mate.
Yeah.
And then it's amazing how quickly you go, oh, God, I forgot that I wasn't just talking to you.
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly that happens.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, the girls like that one. That's the only one they've watched every episode all the way through.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with the girls. I'm watching it. So my husband's like, this again. I'm like, I love it. It's so funny. Oh, okay. Let's move on to your final item then. So could you just describe what you've brought in? This is an old school mic.
I found this when I was looking for my pass, and it was in the box of kind of work memorabilia. And it's an old Sky Sports microphone that I clearly have stolen. And I don't know where I've stolen it from.
Exclusive here.
I think it might have been from like beach football. I worked on beach football once, and but what I think it sort of represents is sort of one, longevity, because that's a very old logo, and two, if that is where it came from, just covering a whole range of sport over my time, whether, you know, it's been going off with radio or whether it's been like taking those opportunities in television, going off to work on events and do that kind of thing. And I think it's such an important thing to do, to go off and just try your hand at lots of different things. I think I see lots of people starting out in the industry now, and they specialize so quickly. Not just specialize in a sport, but specialize in a league or a discipline or some. And I'm like, don't do that. Don't narrow yourself down. Not because necessarily that might be where you want to end up, but because it's so important to be able to turn your hand to anything, because you learn something. Even if you hate working on something, you learn something new from every single thing that you do.
You've got to be so confident though, haven't you, to go... To be that brave to go outside of your own sport.
But that's where you get the confidence. The confidence comes from going, well, do you know what? I turned up to a beach football event, which I knew nothing about, and just turned my hand to it and put something out on air when I was very inexperienced. And I think I'd only been doing it a couple of years. And, you know, that it's about doing that kind of thing. It's about going into a whole new environment and saying, okay, I'm going to learn about this. And it's also about when you learn about something new and you immerse yourself in that world, you start to really care about it. And so you put yourself in a viewer's position and you think about it differently and you understand why. Because I think the first thing you have to do with anybody who's watching sport on television, listening to sport on the radio, is to explain to them why they should care. Why should I care about this? There's so much out there. Why is this important? And so I think to turn your hand to different things helps you to do that. You get to the kind of heart of it much more quickly.
And how much has the industry changed since those days? Have you seen a massive change? Obviously, you know, spoke to Gabby quite a lot about this, being, you know, a female presenter in, you know, a very male world at times. Have you seen a shift over the years?
It's slightly different for Gabby, because when I started at Sky Sports News, that's when Gabby was going to ITV, and she went off and like presented a World Cup and was working on the Champions League and hosting kind of a terrestrial weekend show. And she was in a completely different sphere from where I was, which was starting out at Sky Sports News. And so for 8-9 years, I was very protected. I was very in a bubble, which I didn't realise at the time. So by the time I kind of left and went out to do other stuff, I built that confidence in a really secure environment. Whereas I think Gabby went out into the real world very quickly and at a very young age. So I think our experiences in that sense are very different. But definitely talking to friends about their experiences, I think it definitely has changed. I think in some ways it's coming back a little bit in the way that it is in the world. I think there is a bit of a backlash, actually. And I think social media definitely plays a part in that. I think there's a very vocal, very angry kind of group of people out there who make themselves heard. And so it feels like there are much more of them than there are. And so I think it's a hard time to be a woman working, certainly to be a young woman working in sports broadcasting now. I think it's as hard as it's been.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's definitely harder than it was 15 years ago.
And do you think that's mainly due to social media and like the reach?
Yeah.
The access, I suppose, that people have to you.
Yeah, and I think it's also due to a change in perception where suddenly all these, when I started out, there were loads of women working in football. We weren't groundbreaking.
Yeah.
In 1998. There'd been women who went before us, and there were lots of us around at the time. We might have been maybe the only one or two women in a room, but we were there. And we all found each other. So we didn't feel, or I certainly didn't feel like we were rare because I looked for other women and was friends with other women. And that still exists. But I think that there is a perception now, oh my God, all these women are getting jobs and blah, 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 which has always been the case since I've been working in the industry in 27 years.
Do you feel that there's still that feeling of like competition amongst women as well, though? Like,
so I think that's what's changed.
Way.
I think that's what's changed.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more competition now between young women starting out.
Okay.
I don't, like when I started out, we were genuine friends. Some of my best friends are women who I started out working with.
Yeah.
And I think there is more competition. There's certainly a lot more infighting that I hear about.
Yeah.
I'm not in that because I'm not in that group of women. But yeah, there is certainly a lot more kind of infighting is probably too strong a word, but a lot more kind of fighting for jobs.
That competition, yeah. Because
and
there's fewer spots
natural.
at the top, or
but also it's also the spaces below that where it's, why has she got that job and I haven't? And why is there a kind of, there's a lot of that, which can lead to insecurity, which then leads to people falling out. And I just think there's more of that, I think, than definitely when I started out, just because, although we were in the jobs, maybe there were fewer people behind us.
Yeah,
maybe
there's more coming through now. And
maybe
then
that's behind us.
It's a bit of a battle. I do bits of the athletics, but it's just periods of time, like on and off. For you, you're in a sport that is hugely popular. There's so much opinion. There's so many critics. Like, how do you handle that side of it? Like, do you switch off from what people say? Are you intrigued, like all of us, where we'll have a little look at some of the comments that have been made? Like, how do you manage that balance?
I don't look at all
at
what people say. No. I barely reply to my Instagram messages under posts, and they're generally really nice. Like, Instagram is generally really nice. I never look at my DMs on Instagram, ever. I've only the people I follow. So I just look at those ones. But not because there are nice messages, I'm sure, in there. And it's a shame because you can't interact with people who are genuinely just being very friendly and chatty. And that would be really lovely. But I'm not going in it. I think horrible people have spoiled it for everyone. And I think we need to get more annoyed with them. We need to get more annoyed with the people who've ruined everything for everybody. So, when people talk about, you can't do this and you can't say this, I'm like, you must be really angry with the people who've made this kind of language unacceptable, or you must be really angry with the people who've created this environment. But instead they get angry with the people who are just getting on with their lives. They're getting angry with the wrong people.
And you've got to protect yourself, haven't you? I think, our mindset, our mental health is everything to us, isn't it? And if you let people attack that, then it's a really hard, slippery slope, isn't it? You have to protect yourself.
And also, I would say out loud to people, I don't care. I don't care what people who I don't know. Yeah. I don't care what people who I don't know think. Yeah. And I would say that. Yeah. But I did care. And if people praised me, I'd be like, they clearly know what they're talking about.
yeah. That's very
clearly
bright
an
people.
Excellent judge. Yeah, So, but you can't do that. You can't take the praise and ignore the criticism. You have to give them equal weight. And so I had to really just think about that and go, well, in that case, if I really want to get to a place where it really doesn't affect me, I have to kind of not give the praise too much weight either. And I have kind of got to that place where, not that if somebody wrote something really awful, it wouldn't bother me, but it doesn't affect me. I think confidence isn't about not caring. It's about not letting it change who you are and what you do.
Your behaviour, yeah. Do you think you would have felt differently though if you were sat here talking to me now and you were in your 20s?
Yeah, if it was around then, I would have found it a lot harder.
And you had all social media as well.
And also, it's a generation of women who've been brought up from young girls to believe that social media is important.
Yeah.
It was a novelty. I remember it starting up. So it's a novelty for me. It's an extra. It's not important. It's not part of my life in the same way. It's not something that I put a great deal of value on.
Do you feel like you have a responsibility though to keep that presence online on social media, whether it's Instagram? Do you feel like you have to keep?
One, employers want you to do it anyway.
Yeah.
But two, I think it's good. It's good to put a positive spin on a woman in a male environment, which it still is, because a lot of my experience is positive. So I think it's important that I reflect that, not in a sort of Pollyanna way, but because it's real, because that's my real experience. And two, I think it's important to show that there kind of is life at my age as well. That I think that's a really important thing. I think, me personally, but women of my age have a responsibility to kind of say, there is this whole life ahead of you.
Yeah.
You don't have to rush. You don't have to go flying headlong into everything. You don't have to have done everything by the time you're 30. There are decades ahead of you.
Yeah, and there is that pressure, isn't there? I'm turning 40 next year. So I'm like, and it just...
I love turning 40.
Did you?
Yeah, 50's been weirder.
Really?
Not harder, but weirder, because it's like a weird age. I suddenly feel like, oh my God, 50's like properly, there's no getting away from kind of, because at 40 you can still sort of go, I'm still youngish. I'm not quite middle-aged. Yeah, you're not middle-aged at 40 now.
Give me some tips for turning 40.
I know, turning 40, I enjoyed it.
What did you like about it?
I tell you what really happened at 40, and I noticed this very slowly, and then about a week before I turned 40, it went into like overdrive. I really stopped caring what people think.
Really?
And it's done it like more strongly as I'm about to turn 50.
Really?
Yeah, it's done it more strongly at 50 as well.
Because I'm a people pleaser. I don't know about you, but I was
will be
always,
less so.
Trying to please. Yes, I'll say keep everyone happy. But actually,
Yeah.
So 28th of January when I turn 40.
Yeah, but you honestly, I promise you will notice this in the build up to Christmas.
Yeah.
And then by the end of January, you'll be like, yeah, actually, I care. Yeah, maybe not 100%. If you're a proper people pleaser, maybe not 100%. Definitely less. Definitely less.
I like
and
that.
then you'll think, and then it'll increase as you go through your 40s. And then you'll get to 50 and you'll go, God, I thought I didn't care, and now I really don't care.
Yeah. I'm on the front of Vogue and I just don't care.
But all the nice things, you kind of go, oh yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And then, but all the kind of other stuff, or like the kind of brickbats, you go,
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's more everyday stuff. I just think it doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm going to embrace 40 because Kelly Cates tells me it's going to be great.
But you just let things go in a way that you didn't before.
Yeah, that's
just
a good feeling.
And just that thing of when you say, like, if you don't like saying no to things, you find that you just say no to stuff and you go, I really can't, because I used to say no to stuff and then go, but I can find someone else. And do you want me to help you find someone? And whereas now I'm like, I genuinely just can't do it. I'm working.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah. No, but not in a bad way. Just I'm really sorry. And I feel really bad because I really wanted to do it, or I'm annoyed that I can't do it, but I can't be two people. I can't be in two places at once.
That's a good place to feel, definitely. What do you think football broadcasting is going to look like there in like 10 years, 5-10 years time? Do you think it's going to change massively?
Yeah, much more intimate.
Do you?
Definitely. I think there is still a space for that expert opinion, but I think it's going to become much more niche. I think that's where it's going. I think much more niche. It's already become much more relaxed. The old suit and ties is kind of long gone.
It has changed a lot, actually, if you look back.
And with that, the tone's changed, and it's much more approachable, I think, much more conversational.
Do you prefer that?
Oh, yeah. I prefer it to watch.
Yeah,
apart from anything else.
It's
I want
nice.
somebody to talk to me.
Yeah, and those candid moments, you know, the little slip-ups, some little jokes. It's you can connect with it better.
I want to feel relaxed when I watch television, and so I need the people I'm watching to be relaxed.
Yeah.
That's it. Because so I think that's it. I think that's come from people coming from online and people coming from having their own YouTube channels. And I think that's really interesting with Bundesliga highlights, where that's gone, I think is really interesting, that they've gone from kind of there are a lot of watch-alongs with that.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how that develops, because people don't, watch telly and sit on their phone. They will watch on a couple of screens. So I will watch maybe Gogglebox or something. I'll watch that because I'll watch it with the girls, and I'll have the game on my laptop, or I'll have or on my iPad or on something like that. So and it's not dual screening in the same way.
Yeah,
it's I'm watching two things. So I think that's interesting.
Before you go,
yes.
can I ask you some quick fire golden questions?
Yes.
Okay. When is your golden hour? So a time that you feel completely you.
Sort of 7 till 8 in the evening.
Oh, in the evening?
Yeah. I'm not a morning person at all.
I'm not a morning person.
Oh my God. I'm better than I was, but I'm not good at mornings.
Do you need a lot of sleep? Are you someone that needs a lot of sleep?
Yeah.
Okay. Who has been your golden influence in your life?
I don't have one. It's always been, like I said earlier about the next moment, it's kind of, or the next job, or the next thing. It's always been whoever's been next in line. And I'm a bit of a magpie. Yeah. So I watch everybody who broadcasts, and so I can take something from everybody. So I just don't, I know it's a rubbish answer.
No, that's
but
good,
I will
though.
watch, like there's something that I will learn from watching Gabby or Chappers and the way that they do something. Or it might be that I watch Claudia Winkleman on Traitors, and I go,
Gosh,
I
she's
really,
so good.
yeah, but I watch it and I go, I really love how she does that.
Yeah.
But I now go, oh, well, that wouldn't work, but I could definitely take something from that. That is definitely something I could do.
That is a great answer, because I think we often think that we have to have this one person that's such an influence, but actually taking little snippets.
Yeah, I'm
going to take that from you.
Yeah.
I'm going to take some little snippets from you and everyone else. I love that. Do you have a golden moment that you completely messed up, but that you can laugh about now?
Oh, I've got, no, do you know what? I've not had one that is like really, like a really funny, amazing one.
Yeah.
I've not had one that lends itself to an anecdote. It's all just stupid things like getting somebody's name wrong, or getting like a stat wrong, or getting things just wrong.
Can you instantly laugh about that, or does it take time for it to just subside?
Now I can. But now I can because I feel like when you're older and you're more established and you've been around a bit longer, you've got a kind of weight of work behind you. So people will go, oh, she messed up. When you're young and you make those mistakes, you think, oh my God, that's going to define me.
Yeah, or you're out.
Because you've got nothing else to back that up. You haven't got all the times you got it right to back up the fact it's not an uncharacteristic error. That's who she is.
Do you have a hidden talent or skill that people don't know that you have?
Right, so I couldn't have answered this question a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
But I saw, I'm on TikTok because my daughters wanted to join TikTok. And I went on just as a lurker. And so to kind of see what it was. And I saw this woman learning the beginning of Piano Man on the harmonica. Okay. And I was like, I could do that. So I went on Amazon to see how expensive a harmonica was. And it's like 15, 20 quid. So I was like, I'm going to get a harmonica. So I got a harmonica, and I can now play the opening bit of Piano Man on the harmonica.
That is a great skill. Is it in your bag? You've got a harmonica with you?
I don't take it with me.
Oh, come on.
Do you know what, though? It was in my work bag for a while. And then because I think it had fallen in there. I've got like a bag that I always, like one handbag that fits everything in that I take to, and it had fallen in there. And it was in there. So if I'd had my work bag, it might have been in there, but I don't have it.
I think on Match of the Day,
that's what I need to do.
One day, I think you should definitely.
Well, my daughter stopped her piano lessons for GCSE, and she started back again. I don't know why she thinks she'll have more time during her A-levels, but anyway, she has. But she's started them. And she was in the lesson talking to the teacher, and the teacher said, And, you know, when you're practicing, if you're on the keyboard, you can put your headphones in and then it doesn't annoy your mum or your sister or whoever.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, no, actually, my mum quite likes to hear me practicing. And she said, oh, is your mum musical? And she went, not really. Not really, but she does play the harmonica.
I bet the music teacher was like, okay.
Oh God. Like I was Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins. Kind of like with the cymbals and the... Yeah, so that's my... I genuinely can play that.
Are you going to learn some other songs? Or are you just sticking with that?
I did a little bit. I can do a bit of Love Me Do by the Beatles as well, the beginning bit of that. So I can now do 2 songs on the harmonica. So.
What do you feel was your golden interview?
Oh,
that's really hard, but is there one that stands out for you?
Do you know, years and years ago, there's one that just comes to mind, and I'll go away and I'll think of other ones that I probably should have said. But there's one years ago, and I was working for Setanta in the years when I was doing lots of little bits and pieces of things, and I had a show, and Marcus Trescothick came on and talked about his mental health issues and talked about the kind of culture within that cricket squad around the Ashes win, and he spoke really brilliantly about it, and it was before he'd kind of spoken openly about it.
Yeah,
and I just loved it because it was a big sit down, involved interview where somebody had the space to kind of talk about something that was genuinely important, and I really loved it. I just thought I wanted to do more of it, and he was so brilliant and spoke so fantastically about it. It was just one of those really enjoyable days at work that was about something serious and important, but also just went in lots of different directions, and I really enjoyed it.
Had the time to get the depth of it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Oh, well, it's been so amazing to talk to you.
It's been so lovely to talk to you. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, no, I've loved just like hearing, you know, your journey and where you started. And I think you're just in an incredible phase of your career. And you can tell that you're absolutely embracing it, enjoying every moment of it. So thank you for sharing it with us. Well, thank you
as well, because it's just been amazing watching you. And you've just been like, your moments have been moments that have been so part of like my life and everybody else's life. And it's just lovely to sit and chat.